Derek Barnett got his degree from the University of Tennessee. And I say kudos to Derek Barnett. And I think it's a reminder that you need to change NIL and you need to change the current setup of players and student athletes. And it needs one more major change, and that is they don't have to go to school. They don't have to go to class. They don't have to go to tutoring sessions. They have that 3 or 4 years to focus on football. Now, Caleb, I want you to play devil's advocate. Okay? Tell me I'm wrong. Give me reasons that traditional logic would say, Dave, that's insane.
Traditional logic. I mean, and I want to say this up front. You know, I'm playing devil's advocate here because it's hard for me to disagree with Dave. But like traditional logic is you're supposed to look out for the best interest of the student athletes, and most of them will not be going to the NFL. So to tell them not to go to class when they're in college is really setting them back if they don't graduate and they don't make it into the NFL. And it's also it's at that point it takes away what is even the point of it being college football or college sports? Why not just create a minor league team that is totally separate from college sports at that point? Are they really representing your university that you're a fan of?
And Travis says, here's another traditional logic, and I want to address all of these. Travis says, if they don't go to class, this is now the UFL. No one will care. Do you think that matters, or do you think people care that they go to Philosophy 101 or that they show up on Saturdays with an orange jersey?
I mean, I think the latter, but the question becomes, do you really feel like that it's your school that's going to win championships when those players aren't even students at your class, students at your school?
Well, but I think the vast majority of Tennessee fans didn't graduate from the University of Tennessee, so I don't think they're going to hold it against them.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, you make it look. I play devil's advocate. You put me in you put me in a corner because you're.
Well, I was hoping you'd go along those lines. You talk about set them back. Well, Derek Barnett had a great NFL career. He was allowed to come back. That's the thing that I preach from the mountaintops that so many people don't hear. The University of Tennessee will pay for that athlete to come back and go to college. So Derek Barnett could have paid. He made millions of dollars in the NFL. Travis, I see it. It's a disconnect from your fans. And I think there's some truth to that because ultimately that's the crux of the issue. Would that create a disconnect with the fans? Because there's not a taking advantage of the players argument. Remember, Linda Benzel-Myers tried to say that all of Tennessee's players were taking urban studies because it was easy. But then she forgot to point out the fact that they may get a worthless degree, but they can come back and get 10 degrees and it's paid for if they want to. So the argument that you're not setting them up best for success, I think is moot. And I think it's just darn wrong because setting up for success would be your long shot first when you're in your late teens and early 20s. And that's the NFL, right? And then you fill in the gaps if that doesn't happen. So I know we're on the same page here, but Travis did make me second guess my stance. Quite frankly, is it a disconnect from the fans? I don't know that it would be, but it would be for a lot of graduates. And I think it would be for me to some extent.
Well, let's think about this because we want to worry about the future of the student athletes. And I want what's best for the student athletes. Right now, we have a situation where we've all been in here. We've all been in a situation where we decided we wanted to do something at 19 or 20. And at 30 or 29, we wish we did something else, but we're so knee deep in our career climbing in this that we kind of stick with it. You've done that, Dave, right? You second guess yourself a little bit, but you're like, I'm so far down this road. I don't really want to change at my age. And
right.
This gives them the option to do that. So we're not forcing them to pick a career at 19 when they're playing football. Here's the other part, guys. These athletes, they can't major in certain things because of football when they're on campus. They can't. So you're asking them for the sake of their degree to fall back on to take a useless degree that they're not even going to have a lot of time to study for because let's be honest, during football season, they're focused on football. I mean, and everything about them is focused on football. Actually, not even just during football season, the whole year, because when it's not football season, it's winter workouts. When it's not winter workouts, it's spring practice. When it's not spring practice, it's summer workouts. They never really get a chance to fully focus on class. So I have always thought this was a great compromise. You come play for the university, and here's a way you could really make it good, Dave. You finish with the university. Like, what I mean by finish, I don't mean graduate. I mean letter. You have to letter for a minimum amount of years. What, like 3?
Oh, you can't transfer.
Can't transfer. And if you letter for 3 years, the university will hold your scholarship and allow you to come back for class whenever you want to graduate and at any point in your life.
Which is what they do.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do, and it's what they should do. So what's the point on requiring them to go to class when they're there for football? Y'all can hate me for saying this. Y'all can hate Cardell Jones, who said this at Ohio State back in 2014 when he tweeted out, "Why should we go to classes if we're here to play football? Classes are pointless." You can pretend all day that these players are at these schools for classes. They're not. Half of them would not be at the school were it not for football, okay? So I think allow them to focus on football. Allow them to try their career in football. If it doesn't work, they come back, they get a degree, and even if it's in their mid-20s, that means they've been in the NFL for a few years, so they got some good money at that point. Okay, but if they don't get drafted, they can come right back to college and do whatever. What I would a compromise, Dave, I would say make them take all basic electives. You know, like before you pick a major, you have to take all your electives, and require them to take basic level electives in college while they're at Tennessee.
I'm saying not go at all. Now, I want to Travis on the message board has some really good points. So what would be next, an age limit or eligibility? That's a very good question. I haven't worked that far out yet. Would it just be the same as eligibility, or would it be as far as age limit and coming back to get your degree? No, you could be 70 years old and I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, you can come back whenever. People go back to school all the time in their 40s and 50s to go get a degree. This isn't a big deal. Like, not everybody gets a degree at 22, 23, or 24. And they, and so again, I just think that I think your focus should be on football. So that way it's best for their academic future, because that way they're not letting football get in the way of their academic future. So, you know, Elias brings up a point. You're worried about creating a situation where guys who do want to go to class and get their degree end up being pressured by coaches to quit wasting their time in class.
That will happen.
Elias, that happens already. That's already happening. There are players who are told they can't major in things because it conflicts with their football degree. So, I mean,
I still don't know how Josh Dobbs got an aerospace engineering degree, and good for him. But would it really, I mean, given that he's been successful in the NFL by hanging around, would it have behooved him to focus more on football and maybe be just a little bit better of an NFL prospect when he went to the NFL?
And he always could have come back for that degree too.
That's my point.
Yeah,
make totally football a major. Fred, I agree. Take investment classes. Take when you go. I mean, I've seen the schedules. They're like 10 hours a day. But when you go to some of those things, I think that it should count. When you're going to team meetings and when you're going to some of those things, they should, they should count as a class. I've got no problem with that.